The first winter gust sweeps through Portland's streets, billowing the tattered coat of Jerome Carter, a black Iraq War veteran, now homeless on the sidewalk. He sits quietly outside a convenience store, clutching a scrawled sign, "I served my country, now I just ask for bread." No one stops. No one sees him as human, until a police car screeches to a halt at the curb, and two officers approach, as if he's a threat. No questions, no reason. They shout, yank him to his feet, cuff his wrists, amid the cold stares of passers-by. But what they don't know, a phone is secretly recording from across the street. A video poised to change everything. Who's the real troublemaker? And where's the final limit of endurance? Join us for this moving, shocking story. Don't forget to subscribe to Veteran Best Stories to catch every tale that stirs your heart. That Pennsylvania winter was brutal, colder than any Jerome Carter had ever endured. Night after night, he huddled under the awning of a 24-hour supermarket, his gaunt frame wrapped in tattered, faded coats, their original colors long lost. The wind sliced through his skin, but the deepest pain in his heart wasn't from the cold. It came from society's oblivion, from eyes that passed over him, as if he were an invisible shadow. Within him, once Sergeant Carter, the brave soldier who drove a Humvee through Basra's fire to save comrades, a profound sorrow crept. Memories of glorious days now felt like jagged shards, sharp and untouchable. He was once a hero, but to the world now, he was just that pitiful, homeless man. The scars on his body, war's remnants, hurt less than the fracture in his soul, the agony of being sidelined, stripped of the identity he'd spent a lifetime building. Each night, as the supermarket's lights shone down, Jerome thought of the days he stood tall in his uniform, eyes resolute, heart ablaze with loyalty. But war had stolen not just his health, but his dreams. After discharge, he struggled to find a place in a world that no longer needed soldiers like him. Unsteady jobs, failing health, and nightmares from Basra dragged him into darkness. He blamed no one, but the loneliness pressed heavy, like the cold wind through his ragged clothes. He wondered if his comrades, those he'd saved, knew he now yearned for a kind glance, a sliver of warmth from the society that once called him a hero. One morning, with hunger gnawing at his stomach, Jerome shuffled to the familiar convenience store. He didn't beg for money, didn't plead. He stood silently by the door, his weary eyes holding a soldier's quiet pride, hoping for a loaf of bread from someone's compassion. But the manager's glare, icy and disdainful, cut like a knife through his heart. Jerome felt the contempt, as if his presence tarnished the store's pristine image. Within him, a wave of shame rose, mingled with helplessness. He didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to be seen as a beggar. He just wanted to be seen as human, as Sergeant Carter, the man who once risked his life for his brothers in arms. The doorbell chimes a third time, and then, like a chilling gust, two police officers appear. They approach with rigid gazes, unflinching, as if Jerome is a problem to be dealt with immediately. They don't ask his name, don't care who he once was. A wave of bewilderment surges in Jerome's chest, like a storm's swell. He stands there, hands trembling, trying to stay calm, but his eyes betray deep hurt. He doesn't understand what he's done wrong, just standing here, quietly, bothering no one. Yet a cold command rings out, accusing him of disturbing the peace, a hammer blow to the remnants of his pride. He wants to explain, to say he's only trying to survive, but his voice is small in the tense air, drowned by the haste of those enforcing the law. The handcuffs click, cold metal biting his wrists, yanking him back to war's darkest days. As he's shoved into the patrol car, Jerome feels like a criminal, though his heart still beats with a soldier's honor. He gazes out the window, eyes blurred by pain and disillusionment. This isn't the America he fought for, not the country he sacrificed his health and dreams to protect. A profound sorrow rises within him, as if the world has forgotten Sergeant Carter, seeing only a homeless man unworthy of notice. Yet even in that moment, he doesn't break. He presses his lips together, eyes resolute, like a soldier standing tall, though the battlefield now is a supermarket awning and cold stares. As the patrol car rolls forward, Jerome thinks of his comrades, those he saved in Basra. He wonders if they know he's here, handcuffed, treated as invisible. But deep within, a small flame still burns, the flame of loyalty, of faith that, though forgotten, he remains the soldier who never left anyone behind. He closes his eyes, feeling the cuffs chill, and whispers a vow to himself. Even if the world turns its back, he won't stop fighting, not for glory, but for himself, for the brothers lost, and for the shred of honor left in his broken heart. In the biting chill of a Pennsylvania morning, as Jerome Carter, once a valiant sergeant, is handcuffed and shoved into a patrol car, another pair of eyes quietly captures the moment. Across the street, in the warm corner of a coffee shop, Kelly, a senior communications student, sits with a mini camcorder in hand. She'd only meant to film street scenes for her final project, everyday moments to illustrate lessons on framing. Her lens inadvertently catches Jerome, his gaunt frame and tattered clothes, being escorted by two officers. At first, to Kelly, it's just a random clip, a fleeting snapshot of city life. But as she peers through the camcorder's small screen, Jerome's eyes stop her heart. They aren't fearful or defiant, but carry a profound endurance, a familiar resignation, as if he's long accepted this fate. That gaze, though silent, whispers from the past, holding her captive. Kelly returns to her dorm, her heart heavy with the image of the homeless man. She opens her laptop, starting to edit the footage, intending to save it as study material. But as she zooms in, a startling detail flashes like lightning through fog. In the video's corner, an officer, not one directly arresting Jerome, surreptitiously takes an envelope from the store manager's hand. He glances around, eyes wary, before tucking it into his jacket. Kelly rewinds, her pulse quickening. The image is clear. No coincidence. Indignation rises within her, mingled with a sense of duty. She doesn't know Jerome, but she felt the injustice in his eyes, and now, this detail seems a piece revealing a darker truth. She wonders if Jerome is a victim of an unjust system, if his arrest was a cover for something bigger. Her curiosity as a communications student gives way to the resolve of a young woman determined to speak for justice. With trembling hands, Kelly edits the video, highlighting Jerome's gaze and the officer's covert exchange. She titles it, "Veteran Arrested, Corruption or Mistake," and adds a simple caption, "He was just standing there. Why was he cuffed?" As she hits upload on social media, her heart pounds, not from fear, but from a fierce belief that truth must be seen. She expects little, just a few friends watching and discussing, but deep inside, a small flame ignites, a flame of hope that the homeless man's story won't be forgotten, that his eyes will reach someone, as they reached her. 3 hours later, the video hits 20,000 views, then 100,000, then millions. Each view a heartbeat, each share a wave, spreading Jerome's story across screens throughout America. In her dorm, Kelly sits silently, eyes glued to the rising numbers, her heart swelling with emotion. She doesn't know Jerome was once Sergeant Carter, who saved comrades in Basra, but she feels the weight of his gaze, as if it carries an untold history. As comments flood in, From outrage at the police to questions about the man's identity, Kelly senses a strange connection. She's not just the one who filmed. She's the one who opened a door, letting the world see Jerome, turning his eyes into a voice for the forgotten. Within Kelly, a quiet transformation unfolds. She thinks of her communications lessons, about the power of images, but this is no longer theory. It's responsibility, a chance to do right. She wonders if Jerome knows his story is reaching millions, that his enduring gaze has stirred the conscience of strangers. Reading comments, from those calling him an unsung hero to demands for justice, Kelly feels pride mixed with sorrow. Pride for amplifying Jerome's story, sorrow for how long he suffered in obscurity. She watches the video again, Jerome's eyes still haunting, and whispers a vow to herself. She won't stop. She'll keep telling stories like this, ensuring no one is forgotten like him. As night falls, Kelly sits by her window, the laptop's glow lighting her face. She doesn't know what will become of Jerome, but she knows she's changed. His gaze, even through a lens, taught her that a single moment can carry world-shaking power. To her, Jerome isn't just a homeless man. He's a symbol of resilience, of those who stand tall despite society's rejection. And for her, that's the greatest lesson, one she'll carry forever. Like Jerome's eyes, quiet but indelible. And you, my dear viewers, stay tuned for the next chapter of this jaw-dropping story. So, before you get too cozy, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you truly vibe with what I'm doing here. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Always love seeing who's joining us from all corners of the globe. Dawn breaks over Pennsylvania's sky, but the Portland police station is already ablaze with tension. Phones ring incessantly, like waves crashing on shore, carrying outrage and demands for justice from across the nation. On social media, Kelly's video spreads like wildfire, igniting a fierce wave of emotion. The hashtag #justice. For Jerome surges to the top trend, a declaration impossible to ignore. Strangers begin sharing their own stories, of being chased from affluent neighborhoods, of pleas unheard, of contemptuous glances endured. To them, Jerome's story isn't just an event, it's the voice of the forgotten, the marginalized, pushed aside by a society too quick to judge. Each share a heartbeat, each comment a call, as if the entire country is waking to see Sergeant Carter, the soldier who gave everything, now handcuffed like a criminal. Amid the storm of public outcry, a veterans organization speaks out, their voice resonating through online statements. They know Jerome Carter, the sergeant who saved 3 American soldiers in a bloody ambush in Basra in 2007. To them, he's not just a soldier, but a hero who put his life on the line to pull comrades back to safety. Their statement, simple yet weighty, cuts through the fog of indifference like a blade. They've never forgotten his sacrifice, and now they rise to ensure the world remembers too. In their hearts, deep respect mingles with pain. They think of Jerome, of the scars he bears, of the nights he huddled under a supermarket awning, and their hearts ache. They question why a man who gave everything is treated like refuse, why his honor is trampled by the very nation he defended. The police, at first, choose silence. But that silence is like fuel on a fire, fanning the flames of public outrage higher. Hundreds take to the streets, wielding handwritten signs. A man who served his country doesn't deserve to be discarded like trash. Their footsteps echo through Portland's roads, like the drumbeat of a battle for justice. In their hearts, young and old, from fiery youths to silver-haired veterans, burns fierce resolve. They don't march just for Jerome, but for all forgotten soldiers, those bearing invisible wounds never healed. Each sign a vow, each chant a reminder that a soldier's honor can't be erased by handcuffs or scornful glances. Meanwhile, Jerome sits in a frigid holding cell, no television, unaware of the storm raging outside. Gray concrete walls encase him, as if trapping even his memories of being Sergeant Carter. A deep emptiness seeps into his soul. He doesn't resent the officers, doesn't curse the store manager. But the greatest pain is the loss of identity, being seen as invisible in the nation he bled for. He thinks of his comrades, the faces he saved in Basra, wondering if they know he now craves just a loaf of bread, a kind look, the scars on his body, war's marks, recall days he stood tall. But now, they only deepen his loneliness. He closes his eyes, seeking images of his brothers in arms, but the cells chill and the handcuffs clink haunt him, whispering he's been forgotten. Yet outside, a fight for him erupts, fierce and unrelenting. To those marching, Jerome isn't just a homeless man, he's a symbol of loyalty, of sacrifices overlooked. They think of him, of the enduring gaze Kelly captured, and feel a powerful urge to act. In their hearts, from young people like Kelly to retired veterans, lies a belief that justice will prevail, that Jerome won't be abandoned. Each step on the streets, each hashtag online, is a promise he'll be seen, not as that homeless guy, but as Sergeant Carter, the hero who never fell. Though in his cold cell, Jerome knows none of this. The flame within him, of resilience, of a vow to never surrender, still smolders, awaiting the moment the world sees him, when the nation embraces him once more. The cell door clangs shut behind Jerome Carter, the metallic echo sharp in Portland's frigid detention center. He steps out, eyes red but back straight, like Sergeant Carter of old, who drove a Humvee through Basra's fire to save comrades. In his heart, there's no victorious joy, no thrill of a battle won. Instead, a profound peace settles, as if he's triumphed in a war without weapons, armed only with truth. The days in the cell, with gray concrete walls and bone-deep cold, didn't break him. He thought of his comrades, the faces he saved, wondering if they knew he never stopped fighting, not for honor, but for the belief that a soldier's loyalty never fades. Emerging into the light, he feels a gentle breeze, like a whisper that he's no longer alone. Outside, a group of volunteer lawyers waits, their eyes brimming with resolve. In their hands, thick files, irrefutable evidence, and testimonies from former officers who spoke out after Kelly's video went viral. A spark of hope flares in Jerome, not for vindication, but because his story has touched strangers' hearts. He doesn't know that. Within 48 hours, the officer who arrested him was suspended, and leaked documents exposed a corruption network, payments from wealthy business owners to clean neighborhoods, shoving the homeless like him out of sight, sometimes with force, sometimes with slander. Hearing this, Jerome feels no anger. His heart, though shattered by years of being forgotten, simply accepts. He seeks no revenge. He only wants the world to see, to ensure no one else endures what he has. At a community-organized press conference, Jerome stands before a microphone, his gaunt frame radiating quiet strength. His hand grips a chipped medal, a relic from Fallujah, as if it tethers him to the days he was Sergeant Carter. His eyes, heavy with sorrow yet resolute, hold the gaze of a soldier standing guard, though the battlefield has changed. He speaks little, but each word lands like stone, resonating in the hearts of those present. He doesn't demand his youth back, doesn't need belated apologies. He only hopes no one else is cast to the curb, rendered invisible, as he was through freezing winter nights. In that moment, his heart beats fiercely. He thinks of fallen comrades, of promises kept, feeling their presence, smiling from afar. His words aren't just those of a homeless man. They're the voice of thousands of forgotten soldiers, of hearts still pulsing with honor. Those words, simple yet powerful, ripple across social media, from local news to national broadcasts. They touch the hearts of those who've never met Jerome, stirring a collective awakening. In the minds of viewers, from young activists to silver-haired veterans, respect mingles with pain. They think of Jerome, of his enduring gaze in the video, and feel compelled to act. Within days, crowdfunding campaigns launch, not just to aid Jerome, but to provide temporary housing, legal support, and mental health care for homeless veterans across America. In the hearts of contributors, from donors to volunteers, burns a belief they're doing right, restoring a shred of honor to men like Jerome. Each dollar donated, each word of encouragement, is a petal scattered on the path he walked, kindling hope for hundreds more. Jerome, learning of these campaigns, stands silently by the window of the temporary room the community arranged for him. He gazes at Portland's streets, where lights flicker like stars in the night. A profound emotion wells within him. He hadn't expected this change, hadn't thought his gaze, captured by Kelly's lens, would spark a movement so vast. He recalls nights huddled under the supermarket awning, moments he told himself to just survive another day. But now, he feels the community's warmth, like the embrace of comrades long ago. He knows that, though he can't reclaim his youth or lost dreams, he's done something greater. He's helped others find light. For him, that's a quiet victory, a gift from a soldier to souls still wandering in darkness. As night falls, Jerome holds the chipped metal, his eyes shining, no longer with endurance, but with hope. He feels that, though the war ended and society once turned away, he's reclaimed a piece of Sergeant Carter. His story, through freezing nights and handcuffs clink, has become a beacon, not just for him, but for a community learning to cherish forgotten heroes. Portland's winter remains biting, the wind slicing through the streets like a blade. But that morning, as Jerome Carter stands before a modest apartment donated by a veterans organization, he feels a rare warmth, not just from the faint sunlight piercing the clouds, but from a kindness he never dared dream of. The apartment is simple, with a clean bed, a small kitchen table, and a window overlooking a park, where he once shivered through harsh winter nights last year. A strange sensation stirs within him, as if he's reclaimed a piece of Sergeant Carter, the soldier who drove a Humvee through Basra's fire to save comrades. He doesn't need much, just a place to call home, a steaming cup of coffee in hand, and a quiet corner to reflect on days gone by. Entering the apartment, he touches the door frame, as if testing its reality. His heart, once shattered by oblivion, now pulses gently, like waves lapping the shore after a storm. On the kitchen table, a handwritten letter rests quietly, its childish scrawl brimming with earnestness. It's from a 12-year-old boy Jerome has never met. The simple words carry a stone's weight. The boy wants to grow up like him, not for his strength, but for rising even when beaten down. Jerome reads each line, his fingers tracing the paper, a swell of emotion flooding his chest. He recalls freezing nights under the supermarket awning, being chased away, enduring scornful glares. He'd wondered if his life still mattered, if his sacrifices in Basra were erased by time. But this letter, from a stranger's child, proves his story has touched the next generation. A quiet peace settles in him, laced with silent pride. Not pride for himself, but for knowing his comrades, those he saved, those lost, are smiling from somewhere, proud he didn't fall. Jerome folds the letter carefully, tucking it inside his coat, close to his heart, like the chipped metal from Fallujah. He stands by the window, gazing at the park, where trees sway in the breeze, feeling a wondrous connection. He's no longer alone. The days in the frigid cell, with handcuffs clink and gray walls, now seem a distant memory. He thinks of Kelly's video, of the millions who watched, shared, and rose for him. He thinks of the veterans who spoke out, the strangers who marched with signs, and the volunteer lawyers who fought to restore his honor. Gratitude surges within him, not just for the roof over his head, but for showing him that his loyalty, though forgotten, still holds value. Jerome sits, cradling the coffee mug, its warmth seeping into his calloused fingers. He reflects on the battles he's fought, not just on the battlefield, but in the years of homelessness, when each day was a struggle to cling to his remaining honor. He realizes not every war ends with gunfire. Some end with kindness, with outstretched hands, with letters from a 12-year-old boy. To him, these moments are the greatest victories, not for defeating anyone, but for kindling hope for hundreds of other homeless veterans. He thinks of the fundraising campaigns, of homes being built, and feels those freezing nights under the awning weren't in vain. They awakened a nation, reminding it that soldiers like him deserve to be seen, to be valued. As sunlight streams through the window, Jerome rises, his eyes brighter, no longer the enduring gaze of that homeless man, but the resolute look of Sergeant Carter, who never stopped fighting. He gazes at the park, once his refuge, and smiles faintly. He knows his story, though born in darkness, has become a guiding flame. In his heart, his comrades, the faces from Basra, the laughter of old days, remain, reminding him he kept his vow to never give up. The boy's letter, the chipped Fallujah medal, and this small apartment are proof that, though society once turned away, there are always those ready to listen, ready to stand for what's right. Jerome steps onto the balcony, breathing the crisp air, feeling a profound calm. He doesn't need glory,